right, so where should you live in the Atlanta area? There are so many amazing places to live. One of the biggest challenges is figuring out the best spot for you and your family. In today's video, we're gonna go over the criteria you need to think about to make that decision, and I am going to go over my most common scenarios with clients and what my suggestions for each scenario is. Coming up right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Living in Atlanta. This YouTube channel is all about helping you get to know what it's like to live in the Atlanta area. My name is Mark Brenner. I'm a local realtor here. And today we are gonna help you figure out where the best neighborhood for you and your family is. This is by far the most common question that I get from potential clients when we have a meeting is, where should I live? And this is exponentially more difficult if you're not familiar with the area. That's why I always recommend a discovery trip over the weekend for you to drive around a lot if you're not familiar with the area. But let's get right into it. We're gonna talk about the 4 biggest deciding criteria, and then we're gonna go through some of my most common scenarios and what my suggestions would be. So you'll at least have some great ideas. These aren't the only great places to live for these scenarios, but these are some of the best. So let's get right into the 4 main criteria. This may seem obvious, but it's not to a lot of people. So number 1, we have commute, okay? You understand that the traffic in Atlanta is absolutely terrible. So if you are one of those people who is still commuting to work, or maybe you want to be a certain distance from a family member or the airport, whatever the benchmark is, if you want to be a certain distance from something, that's going to be a great way to eliminate a lot of areas that would make your commute crazy. We're also going to talk about resources for all of these items. In terms of a resource for your commute, obviously you can just use Google Maps. Number 2, schools, okay? Those of you with children, you want to send your kids to public schools, you got to be living in an area where they're going to get the education that you want them to get. Now, unfortunately, this does eliminate a lot of areas in the Atlanta area. Okay, so if you need good schools for your kids, we're going to cross off a lot of areas. That's going to help narrow it down. Now, you're like, Mark, I have no idea where the good schools are. That's okay. I'm going to give you my best resource for this. All right, so let's pull up georgiaschoolgrades.gov. If you just Google georgiaschoolgrades.gov, this will come up. This is a government website. This is not a third-party aggregator like a niche.com or a Great Schools. This is government data. I think it's a little bit more reliable. They're more transparent with how they come up with their information. You can search any county or school in here and you will get a grade as well as a bunch of other statistics and info about if that's a good school. Number 3 is obviously going to be your budget in relation to what size home that you need. Everyone's got a certain budget and they have certain size requirements. This is going to cross a lot of places off the list and help you focus on the right area. In terms of tools for your budget, I actually do have one for you, and it's the Zillow mortgage calculator, not the Zillow app, but Zillow actually has a mortgage calculator app, okay? You can put in a home price, a down payment estimate, loan program interest rate. You can even put in property taxes and it'll come up with what your payment is looking like. So hopefully that helps you figure out what budget you'll be in. And then safety. Now, everyone has different definitions for safety. I grew up in the city. I have more tolerance for city living. Some people who grow up in the rural or suburban areas, you know, they get very scared if they see a boarded up house or any just city related activity. So this is going to have a lot to do with your personal needs. In terms of figuring out safety in Atlanta, the resource that I have for you is only going to be in the city of Atlanta, so it's not going to help a lot if you're in the suburb. But if you Google Atlanta crime maps, you will come up with an actual crime map that goes by neighborhood, and you can group it by date range, the type of crime, anything you want. So if you're nervous about a neighborhood, you're going to get a lot of different information from Google searching, Reddit, you know, Quora, all these different resources. You're going to get different information. These are actual statistics that should help you make your decision. All right, so now you understand the 4 most important criteria to figure out for you and your family so that we can start focusing in on the 1 to 3 neighborhoods that are really going to work. Now, I work with lots of different people. but there's a lot of common themes. So I thought it'd be great to go through my most common themes in the neighborhoods that I typically recommend. We've got the map of Atlanta pulled up for your reference. So hopefully this is really gonna give you some good ideas if one of these scenarios is at least close to what you and your family are looking at. So number one, good schools. I've got 450K and 850K. Okay, so the first scenario we're gonna look at is a family or just someone with kids, and you need to be in an area with good public schools. We're also gonna assume in this scenario, you wanna be a reasonable distance from Atlanta, whether you're commuting there or you just enjoy the amenities of a big city. We're gonna start at 450. A note on the price points. If this is not exactly your price point, all these suggestions will work generally speaking, give or take a little bit less, a little bit more. I know 850 is a lot for some people. Maybe you're in the 650 range or the 700 range. For the most part, these suggestions will still be valuable for you. So just keep that in mind. So what are we recommending for the family who needs good schools and they've got 450K? Now, the thing you need to understand about this budget is that this is kind of a starter budget, unfortunately. Prices have gotten crazy out here. 450 in an area that has reputable public schools is no longer going to buy you a mansion or a really updated home. We can certainly find a move-in ready home. It'll certainly be a good size, at least 3.2, 1,800 square feet or above. Could be a 4.3, could even have 5 bedrooms in this scenario. So where are the two places that we look for with good value, because we're on a little bit lower of a budget? We want good schools and we want good proximity to the city. You've heard me say this before, but we're definitely going to be looking at Marietta. This is in Cobb County, which typically has a good reputation for quality schools, in particular East Cobb, although that's going to be more expensive than where we're talking about now. So that would be one. I like this because easy commute in the town, typically really easy to commute. A lot of great amenities. Not only is the city here, Smyrna's here. This is where the Battery is. Fantastic amenity. The Atlanta Braves play here, but it's open even when the Braves are not playing. Very popular retail, restaurant, dining, shops, everything you want in that area. Marietta itself has a very cute little downtown area. So I really think it's a great combination of value, proximity to the city, mostly good public schools, and plenty of things to do. And at this price point, you can get that good size home. Maybe it's a 4.3, 2,000 square feet or more. It's going to be move-in ready, right? So you're not gonna have to do major renovations. However, it's probably not going to be extremely updated. You might not have the modern shaker cabinets and quartz countertops. You might not have the modern vanities in your bathrooms and whatnot, but it will be move-in ready. And of course, this is gonna ultimately depend on exactly where we're talking about and what size home that you need. Now, the other scenario for this budget is going to be Lawrenceville, okay? Now, this is in Gwinnett County, which also has a good reputation for quality public schools. Lawrenceville can be a bit of a mixed bag, but generally speaking, a very safe area. This is one of the fastest growing areas in all of Metro Atlanta. You can see you still shouldn't have too crazy a commute. Now, yes, I know when traffic's bad, this could be 50 minutes. This could be an hour and 20 minutes. But with no traffic, I mean, it could be as little as 25 or 35 minutes, okay? So it's really not that far away. Again, typically better quality public schools. And in terms of what your budget's gonna do for you here, it's gonna be very similar to Marietta in terms of the condition and style of the home that you're moving into. Lawrenceville also has a pretty cute downtown area. Very comparable to Marietta. What are the differences? I would say diversity is the biggest one. Gwinnett County on average, much more diverse than Cobb County. That doesn't mean you may feel out of place in Cobb County. You might, but if diversity is in particular really important to you, that might sway you over to the Gwinnett side. The Gwinnett side probably has a little bit worse traffic. In terms of value over time, they're both gonna do very well. So those are two great options for folks looking at a 450K budget. They need good schools and good proximity to the city. All right, now what about a larger budget in this scenario? We said $850,000. I know that's a lot of money for a lot of people. It is a lot of money, but some people are in this price range. Again, you might be in the high sixes, low sevens. You might be in the $1 million price range. I just want to talk about this general range. So this range starts to do very well in the Atlanta area, okay? What could barely get you anything in Southern California or the Pacific Northwest, this is when you can start to really do well in Atlanta, Georgia. So you have your pick of the litter, so to speak. You want to be close to the city, you want good schools, and you want lots of things to do, and you want to feel safe. Well, I talk about it a lot. There's simply no doubt it's the most popular area to live in the Atlanta area, in the Atlanta suburbs, and it's going to be Alpharetta. Okay, you've probably heard about Alpharetta. Why is it so popular? Well, number one, you can see it's a relatively easy commute into the city if you are working there. It's directly north of the city, so one of the things that I like is you got a great head start to the North Georgia mountains. There's incredible amenities in Alpharetta itself. You have a downtown Alpharetta with lots of great shopping and things to do. You also have Avalon, which is a huge mixed-use development with movie theater and, again, tons of restaurant, retail, shopping, and things to do. That's in Alpharetta. So you don't even have to go to Atlanta to have the date night, to have the day out with the family. You can do everything you need in Alpharetta. There's tons of things to do here. You know, this area is growing like crazy. The prices are going up. It's really just got the best of all the worlds. It's probably the number one place to live in terms of suburbs if budget is not really too much of an issue and you want major conveniences. You can also see you're going to have a head start to Lake Lanier, which, in spite of its reputation, is an extremely popular spot for people living in the Atlanta area to enjoy. So again, if you're working with that $850,000 budget, my number one choice would probably be Alpharetta. That's not the only place that you can do really well. In fact, obviously, in less expensive areas, your budget's going to go farther, but that would be my recommendation. All right, moving right along to our next scenario. So we want to live ITP inside the perimeter. Okay, we want to be inside the perimeter this time. So we want to be in town. And we're working with a budget of $450,000. We're going to assume for a second that maybe this is a younger couple or a single person and the quality of public schools is not as important. That's not to say your kid can't get a good education in town, okay? We're just talking broad strokes here. So in town, again, budget of $450,000. Let's talk about the budget. A few years ago, a starter budget in Atlanta was $350,000. Now I'd say it's $400,000. When you go to $450,000, now you can get, you know, a nice home in a safe area, somewhat updated. I think you can do pretty well with a budget of $450,000. I think $350,000 is the minimum. $350,000 to $400,000, you're going to have to be doing a little bit of work to that home. So where would I recommend you look in this budget? Again, we're going to assume you want to feel safe, you want to be close to things to do, and you want to move in ready home. We're not going to put you in a flip or a major rehab. So the number one place that I always talk about, that you've heard me talk about over and over again, is the west side of Atlanta, in particular near the Beltline. We've talked about the Beltline a lot. It runs right here. It makes a little loop around the core of the city. Most popular amenity in Atlanta. Great to own real estate here in terms of your property value increasing over time. And it's just a fantastic amenity that everyone enjoys. So that runs right through here. On the west end, there's some great amenities existing here already. So I like West End, and let's zoom in here a little bit. It does get really specific in terms of things change rapidly from street to street. You got to work with someone who really knows these areas. You got to talk to neighbors, go during different times of the day, different days of the week to figure out what your comfort level is. Areas that I like in particular: West End, Mosley Park, Hunter Hills, Westlake, Ashview Heights, which is in here, Adair Park, all neighborhoods that I would love to own real estate in, just purely in terms of the increase in value over time, but also all the incredible amenities are popping up. It is a mixed bag over here. So there are some areas that I am personally not comfortable living in right now. Doesn't mean you wouldn't feel comfortable living in there. So I'm not telling you to avoid it. I'm just giving you information. So that would include Dixie Hills, Bankhead, which you've probably heard of, Vine City, and I think Oakland City is going to be there, but isn't quite there yet, okay? Another suggestion within this scenario is going to be on the east side. So what's going on the east side, and where do I mean? You got East Atlanta here. I'm talking about a little bit further east than East Atlanta. I'm talking about the area around the East Lake Golf Course, and this is a big area. You know, we're talking about East Lake Terrace, Candler McAfee, Belvedere Park, and definitely some areas going down into Gresham Park and Panthersville. Again, we're working with a $450,000 budget. On the east side, it's nice because things get less dense. What does that mean? Typically, larger parcels. You'll see a lot of brick ranches on this side of town. You'll get a larger parcel typically. And at $450,000, you can get in something over here, at least a quarter of an acre, fairly easily up to a half an acre within this budget. And it should be a nice move-in ready brick ranch. Some may have some updates. You do want to be on the lookout for cheap flips, especially on this side of town. Also on the west side as well, because there's a lot of development going on there. But I like the east side. It's a little bit quieter. If you like to play music, if you like to have a little bit more distance from your neighbors, that's probably going to be the place to look. Now, in terms of amenities, you're super close to downtown Decatur, which has one of the most walkable areas in the city, and you're still an easy drive into Midtown. You're an easy drive down to the Atlanta airport in South Atlanta. So you're equidistant to a lot of great amenities in town. So there you have it, 450 ITP. I recommend looking on the west side or on the west end, maybe Mosley Park. And I also recommend on the east side around the East Lake Terrace area. All right, a couple more scenarios for you. I know everyone's different and I may not have covered yours. Feel free to comment below on a scenario you want me to touch on in the future. But what about people who are really city folk, but they've got kids, they've got a family, and they need good quality public schools? Well, I can't go over all the schools in all the city of Atlanta and ITP, but what I can tell you about is the city of Decatur. Now, something that I need you to understand is that if you see a Decatur address on a property in Zillow, it does not mean it's in the city of Decatur. It very well could be in an unincorporated DeKalb County, which is significant because in the change of the quality of the schools and your property taxes. City of Decatur is known for having some of the best public schools in Metro Atlanta, and certainly inside the perimeter. ITP, you need good schools, you want to be in town, Decatur is going to be the place to look. Now, the issue here, of course, is that it's very expensive. Decatur, city of Decatur, downtown Decatur in particular, is one of the most walkable areas. There's great restaurants. There's a lot to do. There's good schools. It's a very family-friendly atmosphere. There's always kids out walking about around downtown Decatur to their high school, to and from. Agnes Scott University is over there. So this is a great atmosphere. It feels very safe, and there's lots to do. Because of that, it's pretty expensive. Now, it does get more dense over here, so you may be looking at an attached option, and that's probably going to start in the high 500s to low 600s. If you want a detached home over here, you're probably going to start looking in the high 600s to low 700s. So if you're back on that 850 range, you can do very well in this area. It's not like it's multi-million dollar homes like a Buckhead would be, but it is more expensive. But that option does exist for you who want to be in town and have good quality public schools. All right, I've got one more scenario for you. We're ripping through these really quick, and it is rural, okay? And that's very general, I know, but what if you don't care about the city of Atlanta? What if you don't care how far you are from it? You want a more rural vibe, but of course you want things to do. We're not talking about middle of nowhere in South Georgia, okay? We're talking about a town further away from the city, still with fun things to do, a lot of fun things to do, safe and good schools, right? If we're going to be living out here, maybe we have a family, so we are concerned about schools. Well, the area that would come to mind to me first would be Woodstock, okay? And you can see, really, I'm using the word rural, but we're not that far from the city, okay? That's maybe a 45-minute drive on a good day, 55 minutes, an hour on average with traffic. It definitely would be a little bit tough for a commute. But why do I mention Woodstock? Woodstock, for whatever reason, has an amazing downtown area. It's known as having, outside of Alpharetta, one of the best downtown areas in all of Metro Atlanta. So you don't need to go into the city to have a great time with your kids and with your family. You can have a great time in Woodstock and never leave your neighborhood. Another reason, see this? That's Lake Allatoona. That's an incredible amenity to be close to. A lot of people talk about Lake Lanier. Lake Allatoona is fantastic as well. And listen, if you're living in the South, especially in the summertime around 4th of July, everyone wants to know someone who has a dock slip and a boat on either Lanier or Allatoona. So you're going to want to make friends. If you live here and you have that, people are going to want to be friends with you. That's a major amenity. Again, we're on the north side of town. Now, that's not to say there's no amenities south of the city. Of course there are. There's great nature. The Chattahoochee runs all the way into Columbus. I enjoy that all the time. But the reality is some of the best nature and some of the other great things to do are in North Georgia, the Blue Ridge Mountains. There are more and more great vineyards in North Georgia. If you didn't know, we are a wine producing state. And so if you want to go pumpkin or apple picking in the fall, you're going to have a great head start living in Woodstock to enjoy that. So you could enjoy North Georgia, the Blue Ridge Mountains, have a little bit more rural feel. you've got good schools in Woodstock. You've got a fantastic downtown. If you are commuting in the city, you know, it's doable. I certainly know people who do way worse commutes. So Woodstock would probably be my #1 recommendation for a slightly rural, much more suburban vibe. You don't care really how far you are from the city, but you want all the other things that I mentioned. All right, so there you have it. We talked about the 4 most important criteria to help you narrow it down, and we talked about 4 different scenarios and different price points within those scenarios to share with you the neighborhoods that I most commonly talk about. Now, keep in mind, there are so many other fantastic places to live that I did not mention. This is really a process, and that's why I take clients through a patented process to understand their information and their needs, narrow it down, have them come in town, check out some of these neighborhoods so that when we're doing virtual tours or FaceTime tours, they're already comfortable with the neighborhood and they never have buyer's remorse. So understand that one of your biggest challenges in making this move and making a purchase or a rental is just that there's lots of great places to live around the Atlanta area. You're gonna have more than one option, so you've gotta narrow it down. The best way you do it is by using this criteria, and of course talking with someone who's got experience and who can guide you based on what you're really looking for, someone who can understand your needs. So if you're interested in making the move, if you wanna work with someone who pretty much does nothing but help people relocate here from out of state and has done a very good job doing it, you can book a Zoom call with me using the link in the description below. You can call me, email me, text me, whatever you want to do, but I love it when my viewers become clients. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you want to see in other videos, and I'll see you next time.